Hey all, it's TJ here with another adventure of mine on Life on the Middle Tables. I went to a major recently. It was called Clutch City, and it was held down here in Houston, Texas, and it happened on March 13th through the 14th. So Clutch City was actually a 6-round event. They had really great prize support. As you can see here in the pictures, they gave out plaques, Warhammers, a chain axe, a Necron scythe. And one of the other cool things that I really loved about this event, and I see a lot of events are doing, is they had a charity raffle. So they were giving away for Tablewar, was one of the major sponsors, and they of course were giving away to their charities. And then they also gave to a children's place, which was really cool. So I took my Dark Angels once again to Clutch City, thanks to these beautiful pictures. Most of the pictures here were taken by a photographer named Kristen that was walking around. And let's go over and go ahead and go over my list. So I had Dark Angels Vanguard detachment. I took one relic, which was for my Deathwing Ancient. He had the Penance of Remembrance. Of course, I had a Deathwing Apothecary. He was also Chief Apothecary. My Warlord was Belial. He has his Exhonorable Warlord trait, which is the -1 damage, which just comes in pretty handy. And then for my lead choice in there, I had a Deathwing Command Squad. So I had, the Sergeant had a Thunderhammer, then I had 2 other Thunderhammers, and then I also had a normal Deathwing Terminator with a Stormbolter and Power Fist. And then I had a unit of Deathwing Knights, so I had, the Master and the 4 Knights, and then a Watcher in the Dark. And then I had a pretty large Terminator squad. So I had the Sergeant, then I had 7 Terminators with Stormbolters and Power Fists. I had a Deathwing Terminator with a Cyclone Missile Launcher and a Stormbolter, and then I had another one with Cyclone Missile Launcher and a pair of Lightning Claws. And then I also took a battalion. I wanted to kind of diversify my army a little bit. So I had an Interrogator, Chaplain, and Terminator armor, and he had a litany, and his litany was the Canticles of Hate. And then I also took a Lazarus, because I got done painting him, and I wanted to include him. Then I had, basically 3 troops. All 4 intercessor squads. One sergeant had a power sword, the other had a thunderhammer, and the other one had a bolt rifle. And then for my fast attack, I took a bike squad. So a Ravenwing bike squad that had a power sword, and then in there I also had one with just normal biker with a bolt pistol, and then 2 with the meltagun. And then I also decided to take the Ravenwing Dark Shroud for that -1 to hit. So round 1, I got paired up with John Camacho. He is one of the well-known, really good players from in the Texas area. He's from El Paso. And so I already knew this was going to be a tough battle, but he had a very, very cool army. I really enjoyed playing it. So he basically had a Vanguard detachment of Adeptus Custodes. They were the Shadow Keepers. He took 1 extra relic, but basically he had a Shield Captain and Alaris Terminator armor. And then he had all the Dreadnoughts you could possibly want, which was really cool. He had... Of course, he had 3 Achilles, and then he had 2 Gladius, and then he also had the Praetor, with the -1 to hit banner. And then on top of that, he had 2 Telemons, and those Telemons are amazing. So his army was a very cool list, and then that wasn't it. So then after that, he included an Astro Militarum, IG, whatever you want to call it, patrol detachment, and basically he also took a Caladius Assassin. His HQ for that was he had the Tepistor Prime, and then he used the Warlord trait. I gave the Grand Strategist, which is allows him to get command points back. And then he had basically 3 basic Tempestor squads of Scions, and then he also had Tempestus Scions that were in for elite choice that all had meltaguns. So very cool list by John, and let's get on to the game. So for the first mission, we played Retrieval, which is number 11 in the book. John took Engage on all fronts, deploy scramblers, and minimize losses. That is a mission secondary. And for me, I took Oath of the Moment for Space Marines. I put Deploy Scramblers and Stubborn Defiance for my Dark Angels. And needless to say, the game was he ended up going first with those dreadnoughts and everything. You'll see that he ended up taking the center of the board and just totally occupied the center of the board. I threw everything I could, trying to get him off the center of the board. He just kept on pushing. Those dreadnoughts were just really, really hard to kill. he kept on going in my deployment zone and just slowly pushed me back and just kind of windowed me away till I pretty much had nothing left on the battlefield. And at the end of the game, it was a great game. I really appreciate John. He gave me some helpful hints and some good pointers and stuff. But John ended up pulling out the game. It was a very easy win for him, you know. He did compliment me on my army, and I really enjoyed his army too. It was very well painted and really cool to play against. But he ended up taking the victory 92-20. So I started off day one, round one, with a round one loss. Not too bad. And then it was time to get on to round two. So let's go ahead and move on to see who I played in round two. So round two, I ended up playing Michael, and he was using a Shuriani, which I guess, you know, is Eldar, as I call him, you know. For his HQs, he had a Swooping Hawk, an Echarch, an Altarch Swooping Hawk. He had a Farseer, which was his Warlord. Whole bunch of cool cyber powers. You know, you got the standard Doom, Ghostwalk, Guide. And he had a Warlock, you know, and he had Fateful Divergence and Protect and Jinx, of course, on that. All common ones you'll see when you play Eldar. And then for his troops, he had 2 squads of Dire Avengers, 2 big squads of 10. He also had some Guardian Defenders, the big 20-man blob. Very similar to what people were running in 8th edition, but still good. At least he had some Striking Scorpions, Fast Attack. He had a Viper. He had 2 Vipers. And then for his heavy support, he had a Falcon. And then he had, for his dedicated transports, he had 2 Wave Serpents. And then for a super heavy detachment, he brought the Cobra. Very, very cool. And very, very fun to play against. So the mission we played was Battle Lines number 22. For Michael, he got first turn. He took Engage on all fronts, Assassination, Mental Interrogation. And for mine, I took my standard ones. Oath of the Moment for Space Marines. I took Deploy Scramblers, Stubborn Defiance for Dark Angels. And needless to say, on to the mission. It was a really fun game. Not going to lie, it was kind of cool to see the super heavy on the battlefield. I tried to go do what I normally do and take the center of the board, but, you know, Michael had a lot of firepower, was able to maneuver and use the speed of the Eldar to get around me, kind of pincer me in, so I really wasn't able to take the middle of the battlefield. And at the end of the game, after a great hard-fought victory, Michael ended up winning 97-53, and I took another loss. It was day 2 loss, but, of course, here's the thing. Michael was the ringer, and, of course, the ringer can't win a game. So I ended up getting a victory, so I was technically 1-1. And so it was on to round 3. So round 3 of day 1, I ended up playing Tom. I'd played him in the previous clutch, and he was running his orcs, but now he switched over to Raven Guard. He was playing the Cacarodons, which are very cool chapter if you've ever read the fluff on them. They have Hungry for Battle and Whirlwind of Rage and are Raven Guard successors. He had a Primaris Chaplain on the bike, which was his Warlord. Let's see here. He had Benediction of Fury. He was also the Master of Sanctuary. He had Master of the Trifold Pass, Swift and Deadly, the Imperium Sword. For his Litanies of Hate, he had the Mantra of Strength and the Recitation of Focus. Good Lord. All these big words when it comes to Space Marines. And then he also had a Primus Librarian, which he was also a chief librarian, so he had some psychic powers and everything. Veil of Time, Might of Heroes, Shadow Step, of course, Psychic Fortress Aura, and then he had the Tome of Malkador on him. And then for his troops, he had 3 Incursor squads. And then for his elites, he had a big old giant unit of aggressors, so a 6-man aggressor squad. Of course, he had a Primaris Apothecary, chief apothecary, definitely. He had a Redemptor Dreadnought, running a pretty standard loadout with the Storm Bolters, Rocket Pod, the Plasma Incinerator, Onslaught's Gatling Cannon. And then for his fast attack, he was running. He had an Interceptor squad, of course. He had a 4-man squad, all with the Plasma, very cool. And then he had 2 units of Outriders, very quick, very mobile. And then for his heavy support, of course, an Eradicator squad. Let's see here. He had 5 Eradicators. So very cool list by Tom. So for round 3, we ended up playing mission number 23, the Scouring. So Tom took Domination. Oath of the Moment. He's playing Space Marines. Most Space Marine players take it. And Raise the Banners High. I took Oath of the Moment. Space Marines, of course. Deploy Scramblers. And Martial Interdiction. interdiction, I think is how you say it, which is the one for Dark Angels where I basically have to kill off a character that he names. So, and I ended up going first this game, which was kind of interesting. So me and Tom battled it out for the center of the board, him moving his aggressors there, me moving my Deathwing Terminators. We ended up battling each other, just a great all-around game. I did some, maybe a little bit of tricksy stuff. I came in the back, kind of dumped everything down, and, it was basically a really, really fun and good game. At the end of the game, Tom barely pulled it out with a nice 72-70 victory for himself. So good job on that. And at the end of round, and then day one, I was 1-2. Technically 0-3, but because I got that second round win, I was 1-2, and it was time to get some rest and proceed to day 2, round 4. So on to round 4, and I ended up playing Kyle. He told me I think he was from College Station, and he's playing one of my favorite armies. He's playing Space Wolves, and he's running a battalion. He took 2 extra relics. Of course, he had a captain. The captain had pretty much standard captain, but he had Mordecai's Teeth Bolts. And that's a pretty cool relic if you want to look that one up. And then he also had, of course, a Primaris Chaplain on the bike. I think I need to get one of these. These are pretty good. Of course, was a Master Sanctuary. He was a hero of the chapter. He had the Wolfenstone. He had Wise Oratory with litanies. He has the Exoneration of Rage, Canticles of Hate, that -2 on the charge, and then he had a Wolf Lord on Thunderwolf. Very cool conversion. I really appreciate his work on this model. He also had who was also the chapter master, which is pretty cool. He had double lightning claws, and he was a warrior of legend. He also had the Imperium sword, and then he was of course on a Thunderwolf, and he was also his warlord. So cool job on that model. He had a big Chaos Axe on the back, which was amazing. So other than that, and then he had a unit of Grey Hunters, standard little four pack of Grey Hunters, and then the course pack leader had a Power Fist. He had an Incursor squad and an Infiltrator squad. And then to move on to his elites, of course, standard in a lot of Space Marine armies you'll see, he had a Blade Guard veteran squad, very, very cool. Of course, there was 5 of those, and then he had an Invictor tactical war suit, of course, very cool. That's a dreadnought, kind of like the Redemptor, that you're able to move up and kind of basically move up on the battlefield. And then for his fast attack, he had an Outrider squad, very cool. And then he had a big unit of Thunderwolf cavalry, which is so cool. He had 2 with Storm Shields, 1 had a Lightning Claw, and then the pack leader had a Thunderhammer. They had another Thunderwolf cavalry squad, same basic loadout he had there. 2 Storm Shields and a Thunderhammer, 1 with Lightning Claw and a Storm Shield, and then of course the pack leader had a Storm Shield and Thunder. And then on top of that, he also had a heavy support squad, a Hellblaster squad. So for round 4, we ended up playing Sweep and Clear. Kyle got first turn. He used Deploy, Scramblers, Engage on all fronts, and Warrior's Pride, which is the Space Wolf secondary. And basically it means he's got to be in close combat, which he does very well. I took Oath of the Moment for Space Marines, Deploy Scramblers, and Stubborn Defiance. He got first turn. Man, able to take the middle of the board, rushed up his 2 Thunderwolf cavalry, pushed his Invictor Warsuit up. Chaplain rode up there, let off some great and amazing buffs for himself. And he ended up taking the center of the board. I really couldn't get him off of it. It was just an all-out slugfest, which you would expect between Dark Angels and Space Wolves. And it was just an overall really great and fun game. I really appreciate the game, Kyle. Thank you so much for that wonderful learning experience. And Kyle ended up taking the game 67-27. And that was another loss for me. But hey, on to round 5 and get to have some more fun playing some more fun games. So on to round 5, I played Jimbo. Jimbo's a great guy. He has a beautifully painted White Scars army. I just like to show him props because he did paint some of the stuff that were up for auction for all the charities. So I really appreciate that, Jimbo. Awesome job on that. But he was playing White Scars. He had a Librarian and Phobos armor, Primaris Captain, and this was the one from the new box set. So he had the Power Sword and Relic Shield. and he also had a Primaris Chaplain, and he had, of course, standard litanies on him. For troops, he had 1 Assault Intercessor squad, he had an Infiltrator squad, he had 2 Intercessor squads. And then for elites, of course, he had a Blade Guard Veteran squad, so he had a Sergeant and 2 normal Blade Guards. For fast attack, he had an Outrider squad. And then for his heavy support, of course, a Ratificator squad, a Hellblaster squad, and then he had the old Repulsor. And for the dedicated transport, he had 3 Impulsors. Now, when I was talking to Jimbo about this, he really loves to paint, and so he just put together a really fun army. He had actually forgotten some of the new rule changes from 8th to 9th, and Impulsors lost fly, and so did Repulsors, so that hurt him a little bit. But other than that, let's see what secondaries in every one we both picked. So we ended up playing Mission 31, which is Overrun. Jimbo took Deploy Scramblers, Engage on All Fronts, and Mental Interrogation. I took Oath of the Moments, I took Scramblers, Deploy Scramblers, and Stubborn Defiance again once again with my Dark Angels. So needless to say, we had a really, really great game. I moved in the center of the board, tried to get off Oath of the Moment. He used his speed to kind of go around on the side of the boards and grab some objectives. He ended up bringing his repulsors in his repulsor on the back board edge. I killed off a lot of stuff and everything, but it was just one of those really, really great games to where we ended up meeting in the center of the table. I was coming around on the right flank, he was coming around on the left flank. It all turned out to be a really, really great game. We ended up calling it a little early, and ended up, with us calling it a little early, we ended up calling it a little bit early. And Jimbo at that point was winning 51-47. And that was another loss for me. So I was now, 1-4? So on to round 6. On to round 6. And I am playing Anthony. He is playing Death Guard. Please bear with me while I try to get through of every single thing he has, because I'm going to mispronounce everything. So, for his first, he had a Patrol Detachment. He had a Malignant Plaguecaster, who had the Gift of Contagion and Purulent Vitality, I guess you could say. And then he also had Typhus, which is cool. I love Typhus. For troops, he had 20 Poxwalkers, and for his elites, he had a Deathwing Terminators. So he had the Shroud Champion, and then he had 2 with Pugue Spurt Gauntlets and Reapers of the Glorious Entropy. Then he had 2 Death Shroud Terminators with Man Reapers and Plague Spurt Gauntlets. And then he had a Flower Blight Swan. And then on top of that, he had a Plague Burst Crawler too as well. Really just an all-around, just whole bunch of stuff. And then he had a Patrol Detachment of the Wretched. And then he had stratagems. He had 2 Gifts of Decay, so that's 2 different relics. So he had a Plague Surgeon as well as a Tallyman. And then for his HQ, he had a Demon Prince, which was a very cool little conversion model he had. That's a really big, gigantic thing. You'll probably see it on the screen sooner or later. And he had a Demonic Axe. He had Wings. He had Sevenfold Blessings. The Supporting Plates. He had some Psychic Powers, Hulking Physique, Pure-Justent Vitality, and Curse of the Leper. Oh, good gosh. This Death Guard stuff's hard. And then he had a Sorcerer in Terminator armor. I could say that. He had a Combi Bolter. He was the Eater of Plague. He had a Force Staff. He was a Plague Chosen. He had Putrid Parapt. Oh, God, I'm going to say it. And then for Psychic Powers, he has Mazam. Oh my God, of Pestilence, Putrid Fatality, and Curse of the Leper again. Okay, and then for troops, he had a big Plague Marine unit. So his he had a Plague Champion, and then he had some Blight Launchers in there, and he had 4, and he had a Veil of Corruption, and then he had an Icon. Just all around, I think every single thing you could possibly have, he had in that one squad. And then for his elites, he had Blight Lord Terminators, which are very cool. And then he had, for fast attacks, he had 2 Bloat Drones. One had the Plague Splitter, and the other ended up having the Flesh Mower. I hope I mispronounced everything, because I probably did. So we played Priority Target Mission number 33. For secondaries, Anthony took Spread the Sickness, which is Death Guard. engage all fronts, and mental interrogation. I took Oath of the Moment with Space Marines, Deploy Scramblers, and Stubborn Defiance with my Dark Angels. This was a crazy, fun game. He ended up kind of flanking over, I guess, on his right flank. He came over the top with everything Demon Prince. I sent some forces up there to try to deal with it. It kind of worked out. I ended up taking the middle of the board. I changed my tactics a little on this one, and I actually used my Deathwing Knights to deep strike. They came in on his back of his field. I kind of swept in, took out his Plague Marines. My Ravenwing Knights, my Ravenwing died fruitlessly to a Demon Prince, but Lazarus came over there and actually got to use his ability for the +4, the damage 4 when he took out the Demon Prince. But all in all, this was a great, all fun game. I ended up holding the middle, just like I said, and it was a great fun game. Anthony's a very cool kid, just started playing, really great guy. He has a Instagram, it's called Space City Miniatures, named after the Houston area. And so, and he does commissioned work. His painting is really great, really good. And like I said, at the end of the day, I ended up pulling out a victory. So I forgot to write down the score. Everyone, I do apologize me not writing down the score. But so that ended up leaving me 2-4 for the end of the tournament, which I was very thankful for. Just wanted to give a shout out to one of the sponsors that they had there, which was Dragon's Lair up north off 249 up in the Willowbrook Tomball area. They donated a lot for prize support for all the winners and everything, and then also really cool for them setting up their shop and bringing everything out there so people could pick up odds and ends. So thanks to those ladies and gentlemen from Dragon's Lair. Needless to say, at Clutch, man, there were some big names there. That was one of the, I think, the final table. I think it was Sean Naden versus Nick Nanavani. So two big names, from Team Battle Brothers, Sean Naden, and then also Nick Nanavani from Art of War. So, I mean, thanks to all those people and the rest of the people that made it out to Houston, during the pandemic and everything, kind of the end of it. Vaccines were starting to roll out. People were starting to play 40K again. So it was really cool to see those two guys out. So the guys at Clutch decided they would do something pretty interesting, and they actually had heats. So they grouped all the people in by their records and everything, and I ended up winning my heat. I guess, I had some good scores, and I was able to win a game on day 2, so I ended up getting some Death Guard miniatures. So appreciate y'all for doing that, giving everyone really a chance to win something. So here at the end, this is what y'all have all been waiting for, to see who won stuff, right? See who was the best of the best, right? So Wyatt Turk ended up taking Best Painted. His Death Guard were amazing. He had some Pop Goes the Monkey in there with the conversions, with the big Death Shroud Terminators and stuff. Very amazing blending. Just overall great job. Really appreciate looking at his army. It was absolutely beautiful. And then for Best General, I think, was Clifton from Dallas. He's always a great player. Really nice guy. He's always got his fun, cool antics and stuff. His America stuff that he always wears, and really cool guy to talk to if you ever see him around. And then, of course, overall champion, of course, Sean Hayden ended up taking it all. Another major win for him. So congratulations to all three of those people, and then everyone else who was able to make it out to the tournament and really had a blast. I hope to see a lot of people back at this event next year. I had a great time. I will definitely be going back since it is in my home city. But at the same time, thanks to the people that ran the event. I want to give a special shout out to Colin and Nathan, who were the tournament organizers. They had another judge named there, Nick. Thanks to Kristen, who was able to take all those beautiful pictures. And big shout out to one of my friends, Joey. Actually manufactured all the terrain and everything. And just a great job all around at running this event, guys. I can't wait to see what y'all do with it next year. Other than that, once again, great time. Hope everyone loved it who showed up, and I can't wait to see everyone in another event. So other than that, don't forget to hit subscribe down low, leave some feedback and, let me know what y'all guys think of these videos. And, hey, Life on the Middle Tables ended up finished 2-4. Had a great time, great events. Hope to see y'all there next year.